How's it going, Flaps Down Gaming? Today we are going to walk through an ILS approach in the 737-8 MAX. Currently we're sitting on the ground at MCO, which is in Orlando, Florida. And so we're going to take off from MCO and we're going to fly directly to TPA, which is Tampa International Airport. We're going to pick up the runway there. So we haven't chosen the approach in Microsoft Flight Simulator yet, so we're going to walk through that and then kind of set up our aircraft for that landing configuration before we take off, so that way we don't have to do it in the air. Typically we would do it in the air, but since it's such a short flight, we're going to just go ahead and set it up on the ground here. So first things first is we're going to open our tablet and see currently there's no flight plan. Well, I guess there is a VFR flight plan in here to Tampa. So we're going to go ahead and leave it VFR to get out of MCO. We'll just climb out and then we'll change this approach procedure to ILS 19er right. Let's look at the transitions. Yeah, so we'll do the mirror transition. So we'll fly north and then we'll go directly in. So we're doing runway 19er right, ILS, and we're going to do the mirror transition. So now we're going to look at the approach on here. We're looking at 419er right. Oh, that's because that's Atlanta. Okay, I'm going to select TPA on here, more information, which will bring up this 19er right, ILS. Okay, so this chart's going to give us everything we need to know. It's going to give us what altitude we need to pick up the localizer at each waypoint. So we're going to pick it up at FADDI, FADDI. And then we're going to follow it in until we get down on the ground. Important thing to know is that in this top right hand corner where it says ILS or localizer 19er right D 108.5, okay, the 108.5 is going to be your radio frequency. Now in this Boeing 747 there is multiple different types of radios. So here's our radio stack. So you have your communication radios up here, right here. So you have communication radio A, communication radio B. So those are your VHF radios. Here are your navigational radios, right here. So navigational radio A, navigational radio B. Okay, so here we're going to set that frequency on both A and B, and so we're looking at 108.5. So we're going to go ahead and type in 108.5. Okay, so that right now is in standby. The lower level of this radio frequency right here is standby, and then the upper level is going to be your active. So we're going to go ahead and switch that over to active. So again, that's 108.5, and we're going to switch this over to 108.5. So you're almost set up for an ILS or localizer landing. The next big step is we have to set our course to the correct degrees. Currently it's at 0360 on both of these. So we're doing localizer 19 right. So that means that we need to set our course to 190. So the first two numbers of your course number will correlate to the runway number. So we're landing on runway 19. So we'll switch this over to runway 190, or course 190. So we'll do that on both sides. And so then that is now set. One thing to note is that oh, we didn't assign the approach. That's my bad. Cool. Now we assign the approach. So one thing to note is when we're at Mira, we have to be at 3,000 feet to pick up that localizer. And then we'll stay at 3,000 feet till we get to Fatty, and then we'll start our descent down into runway 19 right. Currently, we're going to look at the weather. The current altimeter is 29er. So, we'll go ahead and set our aircraft to 29er. Now, typically, we would set this in the air after we've taken off, so that way we're still on the correct pressure for our departure airport. But in this case, we're just gonna roll like the aircraft fully set up for our ILS runway while we're on the ground. We're not pressed for time, and we'll go from there. So currently our aircraft is in takeoff mode, and we're gonna go ahead and get up in the air, and we will walk through what that looks like to land via ILS landing. Alright, so landing gear up. And we're going to go ahead and turn on our altitude. Turn on our speed. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and send this to our avionics. And we're going to delete this discontinuity. And we're going to fly directly to Fatty. And turn our flaps to 0. Alright, we've currently reached our cruising altitude of 10,000 feet. Alright, so we need to be at a speed of 240 knots at 3,000 feet when we get to Fatty. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on. 240, 3,000 feet. And we're going to go ahead and descend. Now currently we're not using any ATC. Usually ATC would clear you for descent and all that kind of stuff and give you vectors to get on the ILS if they needed to reroute you or something. But for this case we're not using ATC, so that way we can just be focused on the ILS approach and landing. Alright, we're gonna set flaps to 5 degrees. So we're currently 19 nautical miles northeast of Atlanta, or Tampa International Airport. We're going to make a left turn with a heading of 190 in about 10 miles. So again, that's going to be all the aircraft is going to do all of that. We're going to switch our map mode selector to approach. So as we get closer to the localizer, we're going to watch this little rectangular line come in line with the other straight line, and then we're also going to turn, and as we turn, it's going to come straight on with our course. In a moment, we're going to switch from LNAV to approach mode after we make this turn. We're going to turn altitude selector to 0. We're going to change minimums to 100 feet. That means the autopilot will automatically turn off at 100 feet. Alright, we are currently on 19 right, ILS final. Turn on approach mode. Level change mode. Turn gear down. We're going to slow down to 180 knots.
2500 sync rate.
Turn on auto brakes to 2. So the mistake I made was I should not have turned on this level change mode. It just started sending us into a downward really fast descent, so that was my bad. But we're currently on the ILS glide slope. Our PAPI looks good. Gears down, flaps full.
400. 300. Approaching 200. 100 minimums. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Speed brakes on. Sorry for the bumpy landing. I didn't have my feet on the rudder, so that's my bad. But that's the concept of ILS landing and how to kind of set up the aircraft for that landing. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching Flaps Down Gaming.